You will search for the identity of the entity referred to as Dillon-Alexander McRaven. You will search for the identity of the entity referred to as Dillon-Alexander McRaven, McRaven, and relate a significant past life incarnation for this entity.
See for this one to be in female form. See for this one to be in the land area of India. We see for this one to have been born with a level of light and enlightenment. We see that one of the parents did recognize this fairly early on, and we see that these ones decided to take this one to a temple so that this one could study under a teacher so that these understandings could be developed. The one of the mother did receive in a dream that this one had these highly developed understandings and that this one needed a teacher. We see that this one did become a Brahmin. We see that the lifetime was mostly spent in service to others. This one did not have much of physical desires to fulfill, and this one did enjoy the life that this one was given. There was no restriction on this one. There was no difficulty. We see that this one did reach a point where this one had to expand the self to go beyond being a disciple and to be willing to teach others. We see that this one did put the self in a position of teaching. However, this one also did not see the self in terms of being able to really give at the level of the one of the teacher. So oftentimes this one would defer this one's students to the teacher. We see that this did work to some degree. However, this one did need to come into this one's own. We see that the one of the teacher did try to aid this one to become much more independent. And at a period of time, the teacher did separate the self from this one so that this one could find this independence. This one took this pretty difficult. It was difficult for this one, and this one did feel hurt by the actions of the teacher. At this time, this one felt this one needed to remove the self from the position of teaching in order to deepen this one's practices, so that this one could be worthy to teach others, and this one practiced the remainder of the life in meditation, in contemplation, and in devotion to God. We see that this one did withdraw at the age of 105. This was an intentional withdrawal, where this one did decide to transcend. The time period is in the 900s. This is all.
What permanent understandings were built by this one in that lifetime?
Discipline and devotion.
Very well. What is the significance of that lifetime to the present lifetime for this entity?
This one has spent many lifetimes in the service of God and in discipline to God and to the individuals around this one. This one has strived to understand truth, has dedicated the self to being good, to having integrity, to reaching the highest level of attainment possible. We see that this one has shied away from teaching due to this one feeling and thinking that this one needs a greater level of discipline within the self, and therefore most of this one's lifetimes have been spent in service and discipline. There is a need for this one to recognize that for this one to progress to the next point of enlightenment, there is a need for this one to step into the role of teacher. This one needs to recognize that just very similar to learning discipline. Learning to become a teacher takes time and practice. There is not a need for this one to be perfect. There is a need for this one to be pure. This one already has understandings with purity. So therefore, as this one practices and applies the discipline that this one has built in teaching, this one will see the holographic resonance between teaching and discipline. As it is the same practice, it is the practice of devotion to a higher self. The practice of teaching is an outer devotion. The practice of discipline is an inner devotion. Both are equally needed and both are equally important and should be given equal amounts of attention. It is good for individuals to spend lifetimes practicing discipline so they can hone it. It is good for individuals to spend lifetimes practicing teaching so they can hone it. It is also good for individuals to be able to recognize when there is time to integrate discipline with teaching for greater alignment. This is true for this one at this time. This one is ready. This one must merely surrender and have faith in this one's own practices and abilities, to recognize that all the effort put forth can be reaped now to aid others in further progression, and to aid this one to leap into a whole new field of expansion. This is a desire for this one. So as this one meditates upon faith and gives from that place to everyone this one interacts with, this one will be able to unlock the next step of this one's evolution. This is all.
Any further suggestions for this entity's soul growth and spiritual development?
It would aid this one to meditate upon the early morning hours, and to after meditation to write a few lines on how this one can apply meditation to aiding others. This is all.
Was this to meditate in the early morning hours or to meditate on the early morning?
To meditate in the early morning hours.
Is this all?
This is all.
Very well. Relax.